Welcome back to the channel, guys. Nico coming with a new video today. So today we're going to be playing Satisfactory. This is going to be episode 7 of my current playthrough. It's been an absolute blast, of course, and guys, if you're enjoying this current playthrough, definitely leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you already haven't. This definitely helps support the channel, helps support me. Also shows me some feedback, whether you guys are liking the series or whatnot. But yeah, so quite a lot's happened in the last 6 episodes that have already been recorded and posted previously. If you haven't, of course, watched them, I would suggest checking them out, just so that way it's a little bit easier for you guys to follow along. But other than that, guys, we've got a lot going on in this episode, which I am very, very, very excited for. Current setup, which is definitely coming along. We got some researching to do as well, so we won't be able to research any of this. We're going to get it set up as well. This is going to allow us to be able to transform this resource into biomass, which we don't really need for the meantime. This could be something that could be very, very useful for us as well. Looking down at quartz here, we could have brought that up, but that's okay. So we're kind of a long way from pretty much all this, and then we've also got some sulfur we can research now. Which by the looks of it is going to be the explosives. So we will place our materials in here that we're not going to be using. Stem ore included. Yep, perfect. And then we will probably unlock... Holy moly. So we'll probably go for the hypertubes, I think, next. Or even if we have a look at the recipes, so to make versatile we need steel beams and frames. And for frames we need rods and reinforced plates. So that's going to create a little bit of a problem. Yes, guys, you heard that correctly. So what we're actually currently doing, definitely just trying a few different things out with editing and whatnot. Definitely let me know in the comments below, guys, if you're enjoying it. But at this current point in time, what we're actually currently trying to go towards is getting everything set up to be able to progress to the next few tiers. So these are going to be very important steps throughout your gameplay. If you guys haven't already actually played this game and you're, actually interested in doing it, this is something that I would really highly suggest to really focus on at this point of the time of the game, just like early on where you're always trying to focus on getting enough resources to be able to produce fuel. So another thing with this is if you can get this set up when you can, it will be a lot easier in the long run because these resources are going to take quite some time to be able to make. A lot of these resources you can't actually craft at the craft bench. For an example, smart plating. We need 500 of those, so they're going to take quite some time to be able to produce. So it's just something to be very, very mindful of throughout your playthrough. Alright, so you guys may be wondering what we're currently doing. So just kind of, editing out a few bits of footage just to be able to kind of collaborate it to be short and more dense, I guess, per se. So that way you guys don't have to watch all the boring stuff. But just to keep you guys updated, what we're currently doing is we're actually going to be powering off another Miner Mark 1. This Miner Mark 1 is going to produce us iron, which is going to be very, very important when it comes to setting up our current foundry that we're going to be setting up. So with this foundry, we're actually going to be using this for crafting our encased industrial beams. These are going to be very important because they're going to be the resource we need for Logistics Marks 4. It's going to be something that we're going to use for quite a few upgrades, which you'll definitely see in the tree. But yeah, it's definitely something to just be mindful of. So we're just setting this up right now because I know that if we use our current foundry setup that we already have, we're probably not going to produce enough resources at this current time to be able to pretty much maximize the efficiency we possibly can. So another thing that we actually haven't done for quite some time is pretty much upgrading all of our belts. So this is another thing that I would, kind of suggest to just be mindful of. What I did with my playthrough, which I haven't done before, is I completely skipped, pretty much upgrading every belt to Mark II. The reason for this is because to make the reinforced iron plates, don't get me wrong, they are a very, very useful resource. Whether it's with your constructors and all these other different machines that you can use these resources for. However, I didn't want to pretty much entirely put all my attention into crafting this resource for the use of upgrading my belts because I knew I'd need these for a lot of upgrades. Especially one being the smart plating, which is going to be your main way to progress the space elevator for the first 2 times. So this is something that I was mindful of when I first was doing this throughout my playthrough. Something to kind of keep note for yourself. Don't get me wrong, the Mark II belts are of course a lot quicker than the Mark I belts, but when you compare it to the statistics of the Mark I to the Mark III, obviously there's a drastic increase. But I figured because I knew that with the foundries, when you craft the foundries, all you would need for the resource would be iron ore, coal ore, a smelter, and then you'll be able to smelt those resources into the bars, which would then be able to create the steel beams, which are the ones that you use to be able to make the Mark III belts. So I knew that if I just waited, if I could just be patient enough, I could wait for the steel beams, and then that way I could just upgrade all my belts. As you can currently see in the footage here, this is exactly what I'm doing with the steel beams, but just what I'd let you know. And just to give you guys a bit of a better idea with my current setup with my encased industrial beams, what we've done here is we've relayed some of the concrete, or if not all the concrete, because we have a lot of concrete just sitting there at our disposal. We've pretty much run all the concrete line down into our little setup down here. So as you can see, we've got silica that's being produced to our right here, which is our current setup for our quartz. And right here, we also have quartz crystals at that storage container. But as you can see, we've got this line that's going all the way down. We've got our miner Mark I down here at a coal ore or coal node. We've got some assemblers set up. This is going to produce these industrial encased beams for us, which are really, really going to be important for many, 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 many future projects throughout the game. But yeah, just wanted to let you guys know. Alrighty, and what we're doing at the moment is, you can see we're going through the research technology tree. So we're trying to progress our Caterium production. This isn't something I can say too much about or comment too much about. I haven't actually dived too far into the Caterium before. Definitely something that I am, interested to be able to pretty much be able to have every single thing in this research tree unlocked. I think that'd be an incredible accomplishment through this playthrough, so it's something I'm actually aiming for. But yeah, as you can see, we're kind of having a look at, what can we get from these new tree system for researching. But what we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be going over the other side of our space elevator. So what I've set up is a little quick production facility per se. This is going to be for our Caterium. We're going to be able to produce Caterium, which is going to go into, you're going to smelt that into your ingots. Pretty standard procedure. It's going to go into our constructors. This is going to be able to construct a new material called Quickwire, which we need 100, I believe, 100 Quickwire to progress to the next technology. Or it's going to be the ingots that's going to progress to the next technology. But the Quickwire itself is going to be a new resource, something I'm going to really look into. And while setting up this new production line, I realized very quickly for why I couldn't craft the Quickwire, being this new Caterium resource. I later realized the reason for this is because I hadn't actually researched it, which you're going to now see me researching this component to be able to craft Quickwire. Now you're going to be able to see in this tree here, there's going to be a few other things that we've unlocked. Most notably the Mark II pole, which is actually going to provide 7 outputs or inputs compared to the original 4 for the Mark I. There's going to be a few other little things that sound very interesting, but we'll definitely look into later. Now, what you're going to see here is me actually actively crafting some stators, I believe. These are going to be a very important resource, just simply because to be able to progress to the next few tiers, we're actually going to need this resource to kind of go further. I believe this is the resource to be able to craft the automated wiring, which all you're going to need is this resource plus cables to produce this. So I thought by doing this I could make my life a little bit easier, which, don't get me wrong, it can be, because you can actually just craft them yourself, but again, you can see how long it's taking to be able to get what I need to be able to even be able to craft the automated wiring. Which, who knows if the automated wiring takes a long time to craft. So I realized very, very quickly that this is taking a long time, and I figured it's time to set up a foundry or a factory to be able to produce this resource. And as we go up this hill here, you're going to notice that we're near our fuel station, where we once crafted fuel. This is going to be where we're crafting this resource, which is then going to lead into this assembler over here, which is going to craft our automated wiring. This automated wiring is going to, in fact, go from the assembler and travel all the way down to the space elevator, where it's going to load the resource into the space elevator for us, which is going to be very helpful in terms of keeping track of our progression and where we're currently at to be able to get to the next few tiers. So one of the biggest things throughout this game, from my experience, is I've learned that power needs to be probably one of your biggest focuses, because if you can't produce enough power, or if your power trips, or for an example, if you don't have the fuel to be able to fuel or basically feed your biomass burners, you run into a lot of problems very quickly. So as I've explained in the previous videos, biggest thing is if you do actually run out of fuel, it stops all production, and you can imagine the amount of resources that you're going to lose in terms of profit or gains or anything like that. Another big thing too is with your coal or power generators, the biggest thing with these is if your electricity or whatever or your power cuts out, the biggest thing is your miner Mark 1 actually, or your Mark 2s, they actually stop producing coal, which very, very bad, because if these cut out, that means you're losing coal that's going to feed to your power plants or whatever you want to call them, which is, it's very, very difficult to get them back up and running. So this is just something to be mindful of when you're playing through, just to always check your power poles, just to see how much fuel consumption you've got, how much your capacity is, and at any point when it's getting very close to the capacity, just to ensure that you pretty much create more ways to be able to produce more fuel. As you can see in the background in this gameplay here, I am in fact actually all over the shop. I'm trying to figure out, how can I go about getting my basically my factory up and running, because as you can see, I do in fact have the coal, but I just don't have the energy output that I need to be able to make everything. So yeah, definitely something to be mindful for you guys. Another thing I just wanted to show you guys quickly is how important it is to, when you're on the game, to just keep the flow of production going. As you can see, I'm going to look into the storage chest, and we have an abundance of rotors. And you can remember throughout the playthrough that I was always struggling to get rotors to be able to, craft machines or use them for upgrades or anything it might be. So this just really highlights the importance of keeping your production flowing smoothly, without any cutouts or anything like that. So one of the things that I've been eyeing off quite some time now for upgrading is actually going to be hypertubes. Hypertubes are going to provide us a mean of transport to and from further locations that I'd prefer to not walk.
Milestone reached. Fixit Incorporated has processed and incorporated frequent Pioneer requests for pipe-based personal transport. Introducing Hypertubes. Safe, aesthetic, adaptable, fun. Enjoy a view of your hard work as you soar through incredibly tight.
So what I've actually done here is I have crafted, let's just say, a nice little platform. This is going to be our centralized position for the meantime, in terms of where all of our hypertubes are going to go. You can see I'm kind of placing our little, workshop bench or whatever per se, and the research facility just a little behind our current hub. But by putting everything in a centralized position, it just means that in terms of transporting around the map, it should be a little bit easier for where everything is. As you can see, things are going to be further and further away. You can see I've got this little awesome shop thing that we did in fact research, forever ago. Could have been tier 2, tier 3. This is going to be a little shop that you can purchase certain items with coupons, which the way you get the coupons is you got to build the bin and feed whatever resource you may want, which are going to produce, currency towards getting a ticket. As you can see, I'm just going to go through all the different little sections, as even I myself, it's been a long time since I've actually seen this feature. But we're kind of just going through, we're looking at all the different materials, foundations itself, the different types of foundations, the different types of walls even, the architecture, you name it. There is quite a few different things in here that we can actually buy. Customizer itself, probably not something I'm, too interested in. These little specials, figurines and stuff, probably won't either. Same with equipment. You can see that the ammo's there. However, the one thing I am interested in is the parts section. So if we scroll down, you can see all the parts, you can see the cost of it. One thing I'm taking note of, as you can see, is the motors. I am actually going to need 50 motors, and you can actually you can get 50 motors by just simply purchasing it once. So this is something I'm going to be kind of going towards. And you know what, guys? With all this time played, all this setup we have done, all this production we have done, it is time to go to the next progression phase. we're always just going to admire the care package or resources that go up into space. We're always going to admire that, even though the same thing happens every time, but it's always the best feeling getting through to the next phases. As you can see, we're going to have these new resources that we can kind of produce into fluid packages, oil extractors, etc. Definitely something I'm very excited to dive into, as I believe this is as far as my progression kind of ended the last time I've played this game. So I have gotten a little bit into this era per se, but not too far. So this is something that I am looking forward to. Mark IV belts, it's going to be fantastic. Being able to unlock the jetpack, being able to unlock the gas mask. The gas mask is going to allow us to be able to safely travel through those gassy areas, that we, need to go to. As you could see, we're just looking then at that section, and it provided a way to construct those resources for the last 2 tiers to be able to progress. As well as unlocking a new machine that is going to have 4 inputs, which is just absolutely crazy. And last of all, guys, just showing off pretty much what I've done with the centralized area with our hypertubes. You can see we are coming up the hill now, where there's going to be a few hypertubes. So to the right there is 3 hypertubes, which are going to all go down to our quartz, our encased beams, and all the way down to where our power is. Behind us to the left is just going to go down to the space elevator. As you can see, one right there. And the other one on the right, I believe, is going to take us all the way to our Caterium. If not, it's going to take us even further, where we want to probably expand and bring back a few extra nodes to be able to start producing even more greater resources. As you can see, we're looking into the awesome sink, I believe it's called, which is where you place an inventory into the machine. It extracts it for X amount of resources, which progresses slightly towards a token. Lucky last, guys. Just wanted to say thank you so much for the support. Really hope you enjoyed the video. Please feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you already haven't. Supports me and the channel out. But definitely provide any sort of comment, feedback, or anything like that in terms of whether you guys liked this kind of video, where I've shortened or condensed the film and provided a voice overlay for the footage, so that way the videos aren't as long and more gets done.